forecast, mostly sunny skies today with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, and it looks like the winds will be light and variable. Mostly clear, light winds tonight, 55 to 60 for the low. Friday should be mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, and it'll be near 90 over the weekend, partly to mostly sunny, maybe a few showers and thunderstorms by Sunday. Your life, your music, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The organisers of the Oscars will hold emergency talks about film mogul Harvey Weinstein after a raft of sexual misconduct allegations. A British jihadist known as the White Widow to some UK media has reportedly been killed in a US drone strike in Syria. Despite a crisis in the Catalonia region, Spain is celebrating its National Day, and the fifth round of Brexit talks is wrapping up in Brussels.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Thursday. It's October 12, 2017. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. Quabila is off today, so I'm going to be in here by myself. Joining us today, though, however, is a person who is a supporter of KLEK and someone who's been a guest on Community Conversations before. We have Gail Rasberry, and Gail is with the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. They're putting on an event coming up October 28th. It is Cannabis as Medicine. It's a free seminar. It's going to be here in Jonesboro, and I'm looking at the flyer. It says patients and caregivers will learn step by step how to register for an Arkansas medical cannabis card. It's going to take place from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, which is located at 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, and it's sponsored by the hashtag Illegally Healed. So, Gail, I guess we kind of start off a little lighthearted. Why the hashtag Illegally Healed when cannabis is now legal in Arkansas?
Well, one of the founders of Illegally Healed, named Corey Hunt, who is out of Northwest Arkansas, as the movement started across the country, there's so many people out there who illegally use cannabis to help them get through their day in various ways. It's pretty common knowledge that cannabis is very effective for chemotherapy and radiation patients, to deal with nausea and vomiting, weight loss, and things of that nature. When you have doctors secretly telling their patients, patting a wife on the arm and saying, do you know anybody that could get him some marijuana? When they can't legally recommend that, and they don't want anybody to know they recommended that, these people are illegally healed. And he started that group to draw attention to medical uses and to do media production, videos, and patient testimonials to help get the word out and to promote the use of cannabis as medicine.
Okay, and that kind of brings us to our event. Since patients and caregivers will learn step by step of how to register for the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Card. So just kind of explain the process of getting the cannabis card.
Well, the Arkansas Department of Health does have a website, has their website prepped and ready to go. Patients can get on there right now and apply for their card. There is no deadline. A lot of
You said Arkansas Department of Health?
Yes.
I'm going to pull up that website while you're talking.
Healthy Arkansas.
Okay, you already got Healthy Arkansas.
The website is Healthy Arkansas. I think if you just Google Healthy Arkansas with no space in between.
Okay, well, I'm going to look that up.
That Google search will give you that link.
Okay, because I'm looking on Google. It has a tab for, it actually says medical marijuana, but I'm assuming this is where you would go for the card.
Yeah, the health department website, it'll pull up and show you different pages of that site, and you can either go to their main page and then go to the medical marijuana page, or you can
Yeah, because it's full of information. The fee schedule. Applications.
A lot of the information, of course, they have a frequently asked questions page, but it doesn't always address people's questions. And so I would encourage, anybody that would like to come to the meeting to kind of go to that page and look around and see if you have any additional questions to what's already there. One thing, the kind of things that we'll be telling people about that aren't blatantly obvious on the website is that, if you've moved and you haven't bothered to get your address updated on your driver's license, when you fill out your patient application form, which is, it's not really an application, you're just applying for the card. It doesn't specifically say the address that you put down on this application has to match the address that's on your driver's license. And if it doesn't, they'll kick it back.
Oh, wow.
And you'll be delayed in getting your card. Now, the health department doesn't have any decision power in whether or not you get a card. Once the doctor signs the form confirming that you have a condition and you submit that signed form along with your other documents to the health department, you're automatically on the list. And they'll send you a letter back saying, we've got you down, we'll send your card out about 30 days before the dispensaries open.
Okay, and you are going to have some guest speakers at this event, so tell us a little bit about the speakers and their background and what they have to offer.
We have a stellar lineup of speakers. Some of the standard speakers that have been at these events, there's been a couple of events like this in Little Rock. There's been an event or two like this in Northwest Arkansas. But I really wanted to do this event in Jonesboro because I know a lot of people out there are trying to get information. They contact me on Facebook or, and other methods to get information. And so I knew the need was out there for this, for this seminar to be held here. One of our speakers will be a local referring physician, Dr. Dane Flippin at Arkansas Progressive Medicine on Matthews. Another one of our speakers will be Storm Nolan, who is one of the founders of the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. He'll tell how he got involved in this movement and what their goals with that organization are, which is to promote education and helping business entities. They've held multiple workshops for dispensary applicants to get information and hints and tips on how to submit their applications and stuff of that nature. They advocate for laws and regulations and public policies that foster a healthy and professional and accountable medical cannabis industry.
Do you have an example of what some of those laws may be?
Well, another one of the speakers is Melissa Fultz, who revived a group called Drug Policy Education Group after our Issue 7 campaign ended. And we spent a lot of time lobbying at the state capitol, and the Cannabis Industry Association also promotes lobbying at the state level to prevent them from passing laws that would be detrimental to the program, or to encourage and lobby for bills that would improve the law and help patients more. And so Illegally Healed, the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association, and the Drug Policy Education Group together are promoting and doing these events to get the education out there and to help promote good changes to the law.
Well, we're getting a lot of Facebook love here from Corey Hunt. He's got the little like signs of flowing on our live stream, and he says, "Love the shirt." And of course,
Corey is a wonderful man, and he's done a lot for the movement. He actually hooked up with a young man out of Illinois named Colton Turner. We're hoping to get him on the speaker schedule, but we're not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not. Colton has a fascinating story with Crohn's disease, which is a debilitating intestinal disease that causes severe pain, wasting away. You can't absorb nutrients. It's just debilitating. And his Crohn's disease was triggered during an event at a Boy Scout camp where he drowned, and they got him out and revived him, and and he seemed to be okay, but then he started having all these problems. He'd always been really slim child, kind of not growing real fast, but after that happened, it triggered his Crohn's into full-blown Crohn's.
And cannabis was the only thing that helped him.
He spent 3 years trying pharmaceutical remedies, from one medication to another, Remicade, and I'm not sure the names of the others. He tells them when he's speaking. But those pharmaceuticals caused all kinds of other problems and all kinds of other scares, because some of these drugs, you watch commercials on TV all the time where pharmaceutical companies, in this really fast blurb at the end, say, some patients have this, some patients have that.
Yeah, I've seen some where it's so by the time they get done with it, I'm like, well, do you really want to take this? Yeah, do you really want to take
this? Right. And so they got to the point after about 3 years that they were desperate to find something that could help him and keep him from dying, not kill him. And they started doing some research out of Israel. They found a study where 9 out of 11 Crohn's patients received clinical remission using cannabis, and the other 2 out of the 11 got symptom relief. They were relieved of the pain and the debilitating, the debilitating nature of the disease. Of course, those patients were smoking it, and his parents knew they couldn't allow that. He was only 13 at the time. Mm-hmm. And so he and his father drove to Colorado. His father went to a pot shop and got some marijuana and made him some brownies in their hotel room. Mm-hmm. They spent probably a month, I'm not really exactly sure how long, doing that. And they could see that it was really helping him feel better. And so they sought out a caregiver in Colorado. And of course, they had to leave their entire family behind. His mother and his siblings, and just he and his father were there by themselves trying to figure this thing out. And, excuse me, the caregiver was the one that got him started on the oil of the plant instead of eating the brownies. He said, you don't need to be eating those brownies. You need to be taking this oil extract. And after 7 months, he was doing so much better that they sought out a doctor to actually do a colonoscopy and see what was going on inside. Mm-hmm. It took them 7 different doctors before one would finally agree to run the test. And when they did run the test, they said, if this is not doing what you think it's doing, you have to take him off of it and put him back on these pharma meds, or we're going to turn you over to Child Protective Services. And they were, they thought for a second and looked at each other. Of course, by this time, I think the mom had come out, and they said, run the test. And the doctor came back and said, he's in complete clinical remission. And that was only after 7 months of treatment on just the oil.
Well, definitely, that's a moving story.
Yeah, he has spent the last 2 to 3 years going around the country doing talks, lobbying government officials in his own state and Washington and other states that have started passing laws. And he's now 6 feet tall. He's gained 30 or 40 pounds over the last, he's a healthy young man. He's very functional, and he does use cannabis oil that does contain THC. Some conditions require it and some conditions don't. But it'll be up to the patient and the dispensary that they're using to figure out exactly what combination of the different plant components is most beneficial for that patient.
Okay, once again, we are speaking with Gail Rasberry from Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. We're talking about the upcoming Cannabis as Medicine Free Seminar, which is going to be Saturday, October 28th at Hilton Garden Inn from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. Patients and caregivers will learn step by step how to register for an Arkansas medical Cannabis Card, and is also sponsored by Illegally Heal. If you have any questions or comments for Miss Gail, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can weigh in on our Facebook live feed. And we got more comments from Corey. Corey says, this event will teach people with different conditions how people are using medical cannabis in other states. Real doctors and real science. If you think marijuana is just for getting high, you should come to this event. Well, Corey Hunt, we definitely appreciate you for checking in on our live feed and leaving your comments. Okay, Gail, getting back to the conversation, were there any more speakers that we left out? We want to make sure that we get all the information out.
Yeah, our big name speaker at this moment is Dr. Joe Goldstritch. Dr. Joe is a board certified in internal medicine, cardiology, and clinical lipidology. He has a vast wealth of medical practice experience in the traditional medicine, but then in 2012 he began assisting medical cannabis patients and promoting medical cannabis for their treatment. He has a very distinguished career in traditional medicine, nutrition, lipid management, and preventive cardiology. He is a fellow of the American College of Cardiology and the former national director of education and community programs for the American Heart Association. So this is a speaker who is very knowledgeable about traditional medicine as well as cannabis medicine. He currently serves as a member of the board of directors for the Society of Cannabis Clinicians and holds an active California medical license.
Okay, so he's definitely very qualified on the subject in which he's speaking about. So let's go talk about some other issues in relation to the field of cannabis. Of course, as you know, we have a new administration in Washington that is, as opposed to the previous administration, which was kind of hands-off when it came to marijuana enforcement. This current Justice Department want to crack down on it. So is there an anxiety among people who consume cannabis, even though it may be legal at the state level, and more states are actually legalizing it, but coming from the federal level, you're having the Justice Department want to crack down on it. So is there a bit of anxiety and angst, and what's kind of the talk in the cannabis community about that?
Well, I get a lot of emails from various organizations, Drug Policy Education, the DPA, Drug Policy Alliance, and different normal and different national cannabis organizations that are constantly wanting me to donate money or sign a petition against Jeff Sessions and his statements about marijuana and its use. And I believe there is some anxiety out there to a certain extent, but a lot of the state representatives in Washington, such as Cory Booker and Kirsten Gillibrand and others, who are actively fighting that, who are actively trying to make sure that Jeff Sessions and his department doesn't start creating these kind of problems for patients and others in legal states, personally, I'm hopeful that this particular administration won't. The president said during his campaign that he believed medical marijuana was beneficial, and then he turned around and appointed Jeff Sessions as the
Attorney General,
the drug czar, and I don't know. It's so contradictory. Everything he does is so contradictory. It's hard to know what's going to happen, but I really believe that the states that have passed it are going to fight if they start trying to come into their state at the federal level and bust up these legitimate and beneficial operations.
And one thing I want to add to that is, I know like in the state of Colorado, they have said that because of the sales of the legal marijuana, that they have been able to balance their budget, that they've had extra money for education and other projects. So it actually has been a benefit to their state So I think you would be right if they tried to take that away. I think they would resist that because, it's helping them out, because one thing that the listeners may not know, that every state in the union has to have a balanced budget. It's only the federal government that does not have to balance the budget. So basically, if the budget's out of whack, you either got to find some money or you got to cut something. And of course, in Colorado, because of this, they don't have to cut anything because they've got plenty of money left over from the legal sale of cannabis. We are speaking.
Well, I would want to mention too, though, that opioid overdose deaths in states that have marijuana programs is down approximately 25%. If you can reduce the number of opioid deaths by a quarter just by having a medical marijuana program, that's something you can't argue with. Statistically, teen use is down, opioid overdose deaths are down, and those are stats that you can't argue with.
All right, Corey chimes in saying Illegally Healed is going to D.C. in November to help ensure federal protections for patients to stay in place. So, Corey, definitely keep us abreast of how that goes. We are speaking with Miss Gail Rasberry, who is with the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. They are hosting Cannabis as Medicine Free Seminar in Jonesboro. It's going to be Saturday, October 28th from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn at 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Patients and caregivers will learn step by step how to register for an Arkansas medical cannabis card. We're going to go ahead and get ready to go to break. When we come back from break, we're going to talk more about this conference, and we're also going to talk about some more issues in regards to cannabis in not just Arkansas, but in the United States. Don't go anywhere. This is Community Conversations, and this is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
How well do you and your spouse communicate? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. It amazes me how much I'm still learning each day. Just when I think I've made some great progress, I mess up and realize I'm still far from being the kind of husband I want to be. But after 25 years of marriage to my wife, Susan, I've discovered a thing or two about how to communicate well. So here's what I've learned about communicating with my wife. First, communicate gently. Because I'm a recovering attorney, Susan sometimes ends up feeling like she's being interrogated by me on the witness stand. So I've learned to pull back and talk in a more gentle tone. For the full list of things I've learned about communicating with my wife, visit markmerrill.com. Remember, your family first.
The Family Minute with Mark Merrill, helping families love well.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Danny Ford, owner of Glen Sain Motors in Paragould, strongly believes in the values of family and hard work with a commitment to the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who keep America free, providing sales and servicing of Chevys, GMCs, Buicks, and Cadillacs, located at 6345 Highway 49 in Paragould. 870-565-4358. Details at glensainparagould.com and at klekfm.org. God bless our troops.
The McDaniel Law Firm, 400 South Main Street in Jonesboro, is a firm believer in justice and equality for the minority community. The McDaniel Law Firm has fought for our rights for over 44 years. The McDaniel Law Firm offers legal help for wrongful death as well as trucking and automobile accidents. Bobby and Brett McDaniel are available for a free consultation at 870-336-4747 or at www.mcdaniellawyers.com.
The Epic Center, located at 1899 Hasbrook Road, County Road 333, is Jonesboro's newest venue for entertainment for the entire family. They offer an auditorium with theater-style seating for up to 1,100 guests, a large stage, professional lighting and sound, dressing rooms, concessions, and more. Available for weddings, concerts, pageants, birthday parties, showers, and more. Booking and other information is available at Epic Center Jonesboro on Facebook, epiccenterjonesboro.com, and at 870-530-5841.
Do you like the music you hear on KLEK 102.5 FM? Do you like the educational programming that we provide? Do you like the service we provide to the community? Do you like having a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear on KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air. So be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Mrs. Gail Rasberry with Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association, and we are talking about the Cannabis as Medicine free seminar, which is going to take place Saturday, October 28th from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro. And during this event, patients and caregivers will learn step by step how to register for an Arkansas medical cannabis card, and it is sponsored by Illegally Healed, and it's DPEG. That's the Drug Policy Education Group, right?
Yes.
Okay, and for those just tuning in, let's kind of recap what people can expect if they attend this seminar.
Well, we're going to have at least three different doctors speaking. Dr. Dane Flippin, who's local, Dr. Kyle Felling. I don't have a bio on him just yet. He was just recently added to the speaker schedule. And then, as I mentioned, Dr. Joe Goldstridge will be speaking. Melissa Fultz with Drug Policy Education Group will talk about conditions that they're hoping to petition to be added for coverage. Corey Hunt of Illegally Healed will be talking about their seminars and workshops and activities. And then Storm Nolan will be talking about the Cannabis Industry Association's activities. But one additional speaker I wanted to mention too is Nick Dial. Nick was a volunteer on our campaign, and since our campaign ended, he has gone on to help author the Arkansas Industrial Hemp Bill, which passed in Little Rock, and we're waiting on the plant board to come out with the rules and regs on the industrial hemp. It'll be a pilot program, a research program, but local farmers and agricultural industry people would want to come to this meeting as well to hear Nick give an update on the status of the hemp bill. And he's also one of the founders of the Arkansas Hemp Association. And some people aren't aware, CBD is a component of both hemp and marijuana that has medical applications with no psychoactive effect of any kind.
What's the difference between hemp and marijuana?
Well, they're in the same plant family, but hemp has, to be classified as hemp or industrial hemp, it has to have a really, really low THC content. Some plants naturally have more THC and other plants have very little THC, and it's all in the cannabis family. So hemp, hemp was used for thousands of years for ropes and tents and clothing and all kinds of, its uses are unbelievably vast. So I'm really excited that we're going to have a hemp program in Arkansas. You can grow, there's 2 or 3 different kinds of industrial hemp you can grow. One of them is better for like biofuels and textiles and building materials and stuff like that. One kind of it is good for producing CBD. And so, they'll be able to choose which kind of hemp they want to grow and for what purpose. But the industry itself, is going to create a lot of jobs in not only the growing of it, but the production, processing and production, of products.
Okay, we have a couple Facebook shout-outs. Shout out to Viola Speed and Gail Hampton. Appreciate y'all for checking in on our Facebook live feed. And of course, you can check in on our live feed. Leave your questions and or comments, or you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. We're speaking with Mrs. Gail Rasberry of the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. They are hosting the Cannabis as Medicine free seminar October 28th from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, where patients and caregivers will learn step-by-step on how to register for an Arkansas medical cannabis card. Now, once a patient gets that cannabis card, how can they use it to get the cannabis that they need for their treatments?
Well, they will take their card to the dispensary that opens closest to them. They'll discuss, there'll be employees there where they'll talk about what their medical conditions are, what kind of relief from those conditions that they're seeking, and the person at the dispensary will review with them what products are available that might help them, and kind of help them figure out, if they don't want to smoke, they can use it in a different way. They can take the oil. There are topicals. There are edibles. Of course, they did pass a law where, excuse me, where edibles can't look like candy and stuff like that, to prevent children from accidentally ingesting them. But cannabis has never killed anybody in the world. It might give you some scary reactions at first, until your body adjusts to it. But I think a lot of people will find that they're really surprised at how many different ways there are to use cannabis as medicine without that psychoactive effect. A lot of patients need that. Patients with PTSD, any kind of traumatic experience or high anxiety issues, if they're a cigarette smoker already, it's not going to bother them that much to smoke or vape. You can also vape, which is actually safer for your lungs than smoking. But smoking is the easiest for most people. But your body does develop a tolerance to that THC. And, I've seen a video on YouTube of a driving test where they had a police officer there and a driving instructor, and these people came in and smoked and then drove and then smoked and then drove and then smoked and then drove. And, it took 3 different episodes, and their THC levels were quite high before their driving skills were even impaired. Of course, these are patients who use it regularly, and that THC tolerance, prevented them from being hazardous behind the wheel.
But I do have to ask this question. If a patient develops THC tolerance, would that mean they would need more of it to get the curative effect?
No, it doesn't. And that's one of the things I think that's different between cannabis medicine and pharmaceutical medicine. Everybody's familiar with, your pain pills, it's just not enough to kill your pain anymore. You have to take more, or you have to switch to a different kind to get the best effect. And cannabis doesn't present those type of problems where you just have to have more and more and more of it for it to be effective.
All right, well, that certainly is good to know. Thought Corey was going to call in. He had asked for the phone number. I put it on the live feed, but Corey, if you're not looking on the live feed, it's 870-277-1080, not 8080, but 1080. 870-277-1080. All right, Gail, let's kind of talk about the latest on the dispensaries and the cultivation centers. I know off break you said that the deadline has passed and we've got a few applications. We're not going to mention names, but kind of let us know the updates on the centers and the cultivation centers, and even explain what the difference between the two are.
Well, I do want to give a shout out to our venue sponsor, which is Emerald's Medical Marijuana Dispensary applicant. They have a vape shop now at Goobertown at the Curve, just north of Brooklyn, and they sponsored our room for the meeting. So shout out to Emeralds. And but I know of at least 3 dispensary applicants in the Jonesboro metro area. 2, I believe, have become public.
And we do have a call. KLK, who's this?
Hello?
KLK, who's this?
Hi, this is Corey Hunt. I was calling in. They're having a radio broadcast right now.
Yes, you're live on the air, Corey. What's on your mind?
Hey, I just wanted to first thanks to you guys for putting this on the air and getting this out there. And Gail, you're always doing awesome. I heard she was talking about Dr. Kyle Felling. I wanted everyone to know that Dr. Kyle Felling is the former chemistry professor at the University of Central Arkansas, and he actually has a laboratory that he's going to be testing all of the cannabis as the growers grow this, and before it's sold to patients. All the medicine has to be tested so that patients know it's safe, that there's no pesticides, no fungicides, nothing like that, and they also know what's in their medicine. And Dr. Felling will be talking about what it means to be able to have access to tested medicine. I think Gail can attest that it's really easy to get marijuana in Arkansas. If you want a bag of pot, you can get one in an hour probably just from asking around. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about real medicine, different administration methods. There's so much more to cannabis than just smoking it. I hope Gail will tell you about some of the topicals and the myriad of different choices that patients have and will have now.
Yeah, we did discuss that briefly.
Awesome.
Well, Corey,
go ahead. We hope everyone can come out on the 28th.
All right, well, Corey, we certainly thank you for the call and thank you for listening. And, of course, if you would like to call in, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can weigh in on our Facebook live feed. We are speaking with Mrs. Gail Rasberry of the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association. They are hosting the Cannabis as Medicine Free Seminar Saturday, October 28th from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Patients and caregivers will learn step by step on how to register for an Arkansas medical cannabis card. I believe for Corey called in, you was kind of updating us about the applicants for the dispensaries and the cultivation centers. So kind of explain what the difference between the two are.
Well, the dispensaries will be where the patients go. Similar to a pharmacy, they will go there and present their card and discuss their condition and what their needs are. Of course, you know, with pharmaceuticals, your doctor tells you what to take and you go to the pharmacy and pick it up, and that's all. Cannabis medicine is going to be really patient centric, where the patient will talk about their condition and their symptoms and the issues that they're having with the most of the time it's called a bud tender in the dispensary, where that person is trained on the different uses of cannabis for different conditions, and they'll help them select the product that they think will best benefit the patient. The patient will come back and say, well, this didn't quite resolve all my issues. They'll determine what other ways they could try that might improve their results. But it'll be each individual patient will need to just work through different products and different types of administration and different cannabinoid and terpenes, and there's so many components of the plant that are being discovered, and while a lot of states say, oh well, we'll have this CBD for people with seizures, well, just CBD oil extracted alone doesn't always control seizures for all people. There's a little girl named Alexis who just had to move from Texas to Colorado for her epilepsy because CBD only did not resolve her seizure issues. She has to have THC in her medicine also. And so, each patient is so individual, and the different components, what they've discovered, it's called the entourage effect. And when you have all of these different components working together, that's when it's the most beneficial. And so that's one reason it was really important for us to pass a full plant medicine rather than just a CBD program like they have in some states.
We have a comment on our Facebook Live feed, and we pull it up. Phone keeps crashing, but it's all good though. And this comment comes from Larry Williams-Treese. She says, "Thank you, Gail Rasberry, for standing up for patients." So let's kind of leave you at the transition. So kind of tell us about the experiences that you have personally, because you know, we've had you on the show before. People who know you know that you are very passionate about cannabis. You are an advocate for legal cannabis for treatment. And I'm sure you run across people like Larry all the time, people who need help, people who have various illnesses and afflictions. So just kind of talk about some of your dealings with people on a day-to-day basis.
Well, you know, my family gets really upset because everywhere I go, I end up talking about cannabis to somebody. And they're standing there tapping their toe, you know. But I really feel driven to try to help people get information about cannabis, about the lies that have been told, promoting prohibition, and the evidence that is out there that proves medical efficacy. The fact that the federal government has a patent on cannabis as an anti-inflammatory, you can go look it up. It's patent number 6630507. There was a study that Nixon threw in the garbage and ended because it was showing benefit to patients rather than harm. And those patients sued the federal government. And guess what? The University of Mississippi grows marijuana, rolls it up into cans of 300 joints, and mails it out to these patients every month. The federal government does that by court order because those patients won their suit. Of course, it was silenced and not, information wasn't accessible until it became declassified or whatever. The Freedom of Information Act managed to allow that information to come out. You know, it's all been a big fat lie. And, you know, when you make something illegal, you put it into the hands of the criminals. And you force people that would be otherwise law-abiding citizens to break the law, to become criminals themselves, to obtain relief. And that's wrong. And, you know, I've known ever since my young years that cannabis was harmless. This is all a lie. And I've kind of been waiting for this movement to happen for 25, 30 years. And once I saw Laughing Bear and Kathy Mishu from Paragould back in 2012 with their booth on the corner of Nettleton and Stone Street, getting collections signatures for the first time. Actually, it wasn't the first time, it was just the first time I was aware of it in 2012 when it was on the ballot. You know, I whipped my car over there because I knew exactly what they were doing, and I knew I wanted to support that. I signed the petition, I gave them a few dollars and got a bumper sticker. I took a picture and posted it on my Facebook and said, "Hey, y'all, come sign this petition." And I voted yes when it came on the ballot. And then it failed by less than 2%.
Are y'all going to
and I
bring
was
that back?
Heartbroken at that time.
Are y'all going to bring that back in 2018 or 2020?
Well, you know, I think 2020 will be a full legal campaign.
And do you think it has a good odds of success?
I don't know. It's really, it's kind of like the medical marijuana was in 12. I think it'll have a lot of support. I'm not sure it'll have quite enough support to pass, but you won't get anything if you don't try.
That is true. We do have some more Facebook shout-outs. People showing you some love on the page. Let me pull up the comments and we'll read them. Adam Pearson says, "Aunt Larry got a shout-out. Nice." Corey Hunt says, "It's not about getting high, it's about getting well." And Courtney Blaze says, "Thank you, Gail. You're a champion for patients." And kind of goes to what I was saying earlier. People definitely know you as an advocate. One question I did want to ask is, I've seen around, I don't have the information from me, but there's a concern that for people who may pursue the medical cannabis card, if they are legal gun owners, if they have concealed carry, that there's a possibility that they could lose their rights to own a gun, and that's caused some anxiety there. So I don't have all the information. You're probably more informed than I am. So just kind of let the listeners know your thoughts on that or what you know about that.
Well, that particular issue is at the federal level. And until we put a federal government in place that will acknowledge the truth, then we're going to have this problem. So yes, if you try to purchase a gun and have to at a location where background checks are done, you would not be able to purchase that gun. Now, private sales, gun shows, you could still, they don't ask if you're a cannabis patient or not.
But would you get in
if you
trouble?
have a concealed carry license, you wouldn't be able to renew a concealed carry license.
Now, if someone bought a gun from a private individual, and could they still register that gun if they had a cannabis card?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that's definitely kind of a...
Yeah, it is. It is, and it
they're
sticks
forced
in
to
the craw
choose.
of a lot of people in this state. And I have guns in my home. They're locked in a safe. We only use them when we go hunting. But yeah, it's a scary prospect to think that because I'm a medical marijuana patient, that I might get in trouble for owning a gun.
All right. Melissa Foss says, patients not criminals, and you will not lose the guns you own, but you will not be able to buy new. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more with Gail Rasberry. This is Community Conversations, and this is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. The third African American Financial Experience Survey has been released by Prudential Research, and it offers some important insights about how you may feel about your financial situation and how you're handling your money matters. Consider these key findings. Paying down personal debt is a top financial priority because the more money you can free up from servicing debt, including interest payments and other fees, the more you can use for other important priorities, including emergency savings, education, investing, and retirement. Also, those who are less reliant on credit cards tend to be more conscious of their spending, which is key to better money habits and boosting your financial confidence. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com. Starks Auto Plaza, your pre-owned superstore, is a longtime supporter of KLEK. 2829 Red Wolf Boulevard, Starks offers clean, reliable vehicles of all makes and models. Starks also offers no-hassle pricing, friendly service, financing options with approved credit. At Starks, you're always family, and our motto is, we never say no. 870-203-9980. StarksAutoPlaza.com.
Arkansas Early Learning is accepting applications right now for childcare. We have locations all across Northeast Arkansas. Applications online at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org. Right here in the community at no cost. Arkansas Early Learning, offering kids a head start.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLK 102.5 FM. We are speaking with Mrs. Gail Rasberry. She is with the Arkansas Cannabis Industry Association, and we're talking about the Cannabis as Medicine-Free Seminar, which is going to take place here in Jonesboro, Saturday, October 28th, from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn at 2840 South Caraway Road. And patients and caregivers will learn step-by-step how to register for an Arkansas cannabis card. And before we went to break, Gail, we were talking about the dispensaries and cultivation centers and the difference. I think you want to kind of finish up on that.
Yeah, the Medical Marijuana Commission set up the rules where dispensary applicants can either apply to grow or just to dispense. So some applicants will only be a dispensary selling the products of the cultivation centers. And some dispensaries will actually be growing some of their own product in addition to stocking items from the cultivation centers. The law provided for 8 cultivation centers statewide, and what they decided to do was to award 5 licenses initially and then wait and see how the program develops and what areas might need more underserved areas. They'll go back and award, an extra license for those areas. So they're reserving 3 cultivation center licenses, just to see how the program rolls out. So initially there'll be 5 cultivation centers statewide. I'm hoping that they will distribute those out, widely across the state so that each area of the state has that economic boost of jobs and, residents with good incomes that can boost the economy in that area. I do know of one cultivation center applicant in Harrisburg, Poinsett County. I know the Harrisburg City Council is supportive of them. They allowed them to have a job fair back in the summer that I attended, and they were interviewing people for their cultivation area, their testing lab area, their production of making the actual products, the oils and the edibles and the extracts and stuff, that department. And then, of course, they'll have a sales and marketing department. They'll have HR offices. This will be a giant factory. And the economic boost to having those jobs, Poinsett County could really benefit. I'm hopeful that cultivator gets that license in Harrisburg. But then the dispensaries, like I said, they're limited in the number of plants that they can grow. The cultivation centers aren't, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. The dispensaries can only have like 50 mature plants, and those will be like, if you go to a local dispensary and the products coming out from the cultivation centers aren't really doing what you need them to do, your dispensary owner can grow a specific strain for you. And so the dispensaries that are doing growing, will be able to customize for their patients. And I know I'm pretty sure Emeralds is applying for cultivation, but I know of at least one other Jonesboro Metro applicant that's not applying to have a grow, only a dispensary. But all 5, one of the better things I think about the law is that the cultivation centers, no matter where they are in the state, they will be marketing their products to all the dispensaries statewide, which will create some semblance of a competitive market amongst those 5 cultivation centers, in their product pricing. And having grown up in a family-owned grocery store, I like to compare it to, there was the Frito-Lay chip guy and the Golden Flake chip guy, and the line of who had the most space on the shelf. They were always trying to get you to give them more room than the other guy. And you're like, well, what kind of deal you got going on this week? And so they will be competing for shelf space in the dispensaries. And in each cultivation center will have sales representatives that go out to those dispensaries and say, here are the products that our cultivation center produces, and here's the order form. Let me know what you'd like to stock. And so it'll be an above board industry with every kind of job out there in any kind of industry. Accountants, sales reps, everything. Whatever your current career is, you could do that career in the cannabis industry.
We have a few more Facebook shout-outs. Melissa Larkin Fultz says, great job, Gail. Larry Williams-Tree says, please share with your friends so all can hear Gail. Richard G. Morton says, sounds good. Thank you for keeping us up to date. And have a couple Facebook shout-outs as well. Richard G. Morton, Liz Rogers, and Jeff Kiziar. So appreciate each and every one of you that have checked in on our Facebook live feed. And of course, you can check in as well, or you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. As we have about less than 5 minutes left to go, is there anything else that you want to get out there to the listeners that we may not have covered?
Well, mainly that this seminar is free. If you have any questions about medical cannabis, be using it, if you have a loved one that you think could benefit from it, there are going to be 3 physicians and multiple others available to answer your questions, to talk about the different uses of cannabis, the different components of cannabis, and it's free. To me, that's the main thing. The Cannabis Industry Association and Corey with Illegally Healed and the Drug Policy Education Group, that is their goal, to get as much information out as possible at no cost to the public, because we all worked so hard to make it happen, and we were crushed when our preferred law got thrown off the ballot and we had to deal with the other law that passed. But we're doing our best to improve that law, to prevent detrimental laws from being passed that would harm patients or make it more difficult for patients. But anybody that has any questions about the use of medical cannabis or the industrial hemp program should come out to the Hilton on the 28th.
And once again, that is the Cannabis is Medicine Free Seminar that's going to take place Saturday, October 28th from 2 o'clock p.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, which is 2840 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro. Gail, we want to definitely thank you for stopping in today. Let's go back to the Facebook Live feed, see if we don't have any more new shout-outs, but we do thank everyone who has checked in on our live feed as well. So, anything else that we may not have covered? We got 2 minutes.
Well, if you'd like to support any of these organizations, I know the Drug Policy Education Group could really use sponsors. You can join for $10 a year, and that funding helps us keep correspondence and contact with state legislators to lobby for or against bills that get introduced. Once the session ended, we all kind of went, oh, whew. That was, because there were a lot of laws getting thrown up, some good and some bad. And so it took a lot of work for us to go to those committee meetings, to be in attendance, to argue our side and try to prevent them from going out of committee to the floor for a vote. And that takes a lot of work. So Drug Policy Education Group Arkansas is a local group that is specifically, our goal is to affect, in a good way, the law that we were stuck with, basically, to try to improve it and try to prevent it from being more difficult for patients.
All right, and in our last few seconds, I know off air you said something about some different things that will be coming to the state as regarding the cultivation centers.
Yeah.
We got 40 seconds, so make it quick.
Okay. There are some groups coming into the state offering training for dispensary workers. You get a certificate after 4 hours. Please be careful with your money. The dispensary workers training is by the regulations under the oversight of
20 seconds
of the pharmacy consultant, and so that certification may or may not be accepted by a dispensary as adequate.
All right, we're gonna have to go ahead and leave it there. Gail, thank you for stopping by. Saturday, October 28th, Cannabis is Medicine Free Seminar, Hilton Garden Inn. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLK 102.5 FM.
thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK-LP, Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy